This week on RSBANDB Update, we discuss the upcoming Fresh Start Worlds, from our thoughts on what we really like about this update to what we think could be improved to help it succeed. We also discuss rewards, community response, and just who of your panelists will be playing it. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 896, recorded Thursday, August 18th, 2022. The best world for a fresh start. Hello, everybody, and welcome to RSBANDB Update this week. Sirion told me not to say this. But we have a big news update to discuss this week. And you told me not to say that, Sirion, but I had to.
I hate you.
But actually, the big news item to discuss is that Tanis is back this week. Welcome back.
Hey, thank you, Shane. Thank you for all the listeners that reached out. I am back. I'm excited to be back on this rocket ship of a show that I'm coming back on. As some of you know, I was in the hospital for a few weeks, but doing much better now, and I'm just excited for what we have on the docket for today.
Yeah, it's great having you back, and we were talking a bit on Sunday. And you were like, oh, I knew I was looking forward to coming back. I didn't think I'd be strapped to a rocket, though, this week.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? It's just a normal week and a normal update.
You kidding me?
It's just a normal update.
Any week.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be any week. We're both here, Siri, and we're going to cause problems.
Of course, what we're talking about is Fresh Start Worlds, and to bring you the full RSBANDB Update discussion, in addition to Tanis and myself, we have Sirion.
Hey.
Who has opinions on this, big opinions, so much so that he is starting recording at 11:30 p.m. at night to talk about them.
Yeah, so if I stop making sense, or maybe I never make sense to begin with, then that will be why. But that's what's fun, right?
And Taxi is also here, who has his own set of opinions on this. And you and I had quite the discussion on this on Monday, and it
we talked for like 4 hours on Monday, and I didn't realize that until I looked back at our message log and saw the length of the call.
But it wasn't just that. It was other
I think
things too.
We low-key talked ourselves from being very skeptical to maybe thinking this is going to be fun, and hopefully we'll take some folks on a similar ride today. But I should also, as Shane mentioned, I am also running on 3 hours of sleep on a red-eye flight last night, so we're going to be wild today. Apologies in advance for all of the lost thoughts that are going to happen.
You're gonna get RSBANDB Unchained today.
I was going to say RSBANDB Savage and Wild.
Which one of us?
We are all waving our own banners too, very distinct banners, which ought to make this quite interesting.
All right, so I'll just say that if you want to follow along, full show notes can be found at update.show. I'm Shane12088 in game. Tanis is at Tanis79. Sirion is at Sirion with a C, and Taxi is at THAXY in game, which we had a fun discussion about on the bank roast, which you guys can find in the Patreon feed right now.
Shane, we have had that discussion at least 3 times in the last year.
I know. All right, folks.
But this is a nice plug.
It is.
Bank
it is.
roast. It was a fun time. That was a fun. Quick reminder for everybody who listens to this: Earth and I both enjoy the company of this gentleman and know him relatively well. Please do not flame the Shane. Thank you.
That's the way it went. But in any case, Fresh Start Worlds. The best time to begin again, folks. The best time to begin RuneScape again.
But, I mean, you never leave, right?
No, you never leave.
I've never left.
It's the Hotel California. I mean,
yeah.
I can't. So, I mean, that statement alone is a great question mark, right? And Shane, we talked about this. I'm strongly of two minds on this because one, it is like if you want to get into RuneScape right now, a lot of content is being made for endgame, and we'll get to why that can be potentially problematic. I think Tanis has notes for us, which are totally valid.
I have
And
notes.
I'm gonna say to the counterpoint to this too, that the other problem here is that we all have massive game knowledge just sitting in our heads about this game because we spent so much time in the leveling process, right? Like, I think most of us took 10 plus years to max. And so, like, if we're maxed even, right? And so that's you think about the time involved and the amount of things we had to learn. And even if these accounts aren't getting maxed in 8 weeks, which I think casual returning players probably aren't, like, you're skipping a lot of the stuff that is potential game knowledge that is, like, maybe niche helpful later.
Yeah.
But that said, man, if you want to race to the end game content to really see, if you want to get into Prif, if you want to get into Elder God Wars, I think it's a good pitch for this.
This is your ticket.
Yeah, I think it's a good pitch.
They also say that the key demographic of this is targeting lapsed players, and I know, Tanis, you have words on that. I don't know if you want to save that for now or later. You want to provide a bit of an opinion on this?
Yeah, well, I mean, my idea is just like when they were looking for the elusive new player. I think the lapsed player is a similar thing where they are out there, but I think the way that you get them back is the way that they did archaeology, where people were so excited about it, they talked so much about it. You get people back through new, exciting, quality content. I think the name of the game at this point is not new players or lapsed players, but retention. And fresh start worlds, I think it could be a great tool for retention, but it needs a few tweaks. We need to give it the RSBAND love. And,
yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Also,
so that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think it's retention is what the goal should be. We have 300 million accounts.
Also,
right?
Yeah.
Also, I've had this problem since Sunday. I don't think I've told any of you guys about this, but I'm seeing every time I see Fresh Start Worlds, I think the combination of one of those, fresh organic food chains and the Strange New World Star Trek series.
Interesting. So I'm going to jump on what you said, Tanis, too, because, like, I'm thinking what's been, like, the biggest updates since, and this is, again, already me being disagreeable, so we're starting off on the right foot. But, like, the biggest updates since archaeology, and, like, again, it feels like that's Elder God Wars, and you need to have a higher level account to really, like, dive into that content. I've done that content on a level 70. It is much less enjoyable. I will probably be doing that content on a level 70 in a month, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I feel that Elder God Wars content was a really different animal than what archaeology was. Archaeology, you could come in from any angle, anywhere, whereas Elder God Wars, you needed to be here, you needed to be a part of the story, you needed to have buy-in. And so it's a really different animal.
And you needed more than just
archaeology is evergreen.
You needed intermediate PVM knowledge to truly have fun with Elder God Wars, with the exception of Glacier.
That's true. Croesus is kind of its own beast. Glacier is definitely its own beast. But surviving Zook or Carapac encounters, you're right. I can't tell you you're wrong for that. But you can't get that experience if you don't have the levels and gear to get there. Yeah. The gear is its own adventure, which I'm going to add later in the notes.
Sirion?
Well, yeah, no, I had my notes way later, so
you're keeping his powder dry.
You took like 10 minutes into this.
Just give us a bit of
10 minutes into the show to get me out of the flow of it.
Perfect.
Yes, perfect. Like we said, RSBAND unleashed. There's a lot of problem I find right now that if you want to jump into the game, you need to commit to it for a really long time. Right, you need to commit to grinding to all the skills, and it hasn't gotten a lot easier with all the bonus XPs and new training methods. But you're looking at a lot of time before you can even start enjoying the, quote unquote, real game. And if you look at the focus on the updates and where a large part of the community is right now, it's not minigames. It's
No.
not really questing, it's PVM, right? Like, that's what the biggest
PVM
community
and
is
skilling.
built
There's a lot
around
of
PVM.
skillers floating around too. There
is-
definitely a silent majority, right?
And
Like,
to be
it
honest,
feels that way.
To be honest, that's
Sure.
what our analytics tell us too. Is that number one, it's PVM.
Yeah.
Number two, it's skilling updates, and then
Exactly.
questing falls into that bottom 25%.
Even
in
then,
terms
I think
of
PVM is the thing that gets the updates, right?
Yeah.
PVM is the thing
Yeah.
that gets the engagement, gets people playing again. Skilling is sort of, you can always do some woodcutting or farming. That's not going to go away, and PVM feels like it ebb and flows more with the content that Jagex releases. So if you want to be part of that boat and that hype boat, basically, you need to be up there, and a lot of people are going to look at RS and they're going to do the grind and not be part of this boat because it's too high level for them and drop off. So, get them to the area of the game where they can be part of the cool kids quicker, and maybe you get better retention out of that.
Yeah, and on that note, Zamorak episode, top episode this year, Extinction, and then the Dineros. So there's your three. Obviously, the Extinction one was higher because I was ending a skill line, but Zamorak and Dineros number 1 and number 2 effectively. After that, and I think another key point we got to get out here about talking about what fresh start worlds are is that they're not leagues.
Right.
That was made very clear in the news post.
Yeah.
It comes back to what you were saying about, them being aimed at lapsed and returning players, right? They added a bunch of fun and buffs into this to, like, the things that people enjoyed out of, like, Leagues 2 on old school, right? Like, things that are just, like, it's little sprinkles of leagues. It's the, like, people liked this, but it's not crazy overpowered, like allowing you to reverse a teleport, right? It's still within the scope of the game. All of the buffs they added are... There's no functions that you're not necessarily going to see in a main game, and so it's a very, very, very trimmed down leagues. And I think people were hoping to get more leagues type things from RuneScape's 3's first game mode.
Yeah, and another thing that was made clear by the community team is that this is a trial run for other types of RS seasonal game mode, not necessarily leagues, but just RS seasonal game modes in general.
Yeah,
and it feels to me a little bit like they started out with an idea and turned this into a testing ground for everything at the same time, and like they say, this is for lapsed and returned players. But if you look at all the buffs and all the boons and all that stuff, it doesn't say this is for returning players to me. It says, like, this is for people who want to spend a lot of time in the main game, in these new worlds, because the main game might not have a lot to offer to them. So I think there's a lot of mixed messaging going on, and that's probably the consequence of them just throwing everything in there.
Yeah.
And my fear is that, like expansions, where they also tried like 5 different new things, right? And 1 or 2 of those things didn't work, so they threw all 5 things away, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a bit afraid, and that's my fear for fresh new start worlds, is that if this becomes a failure, which I don't say it is, but it's a possibility.
It could very well become one.
That it doesn't get the engagement that they hoped for, they're going to throw all of the ideas out of there. And even, like, leagues for RuneScape, if it's done well, probably works really well. So
So hold on to your tokens, guys, just in case. It could become the next party hat.
Oh God, there is the next party hat in here, though.
Well, there's that. I mean, there's a lot of new party hats in here. Yeah, lots of new tradable rares.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
The first 8 weeks of this endeavor are going to be the races for world firsts and the new high scores, and that's also something else to mention, that along with the new high scores, it's going to be a completely fresh economy. So there's
fresh
not going to be
fresh high scores.
No herbs, no rune, no coins in the economy. It's going to be really interesting.
No bones.
No bones. It's going to be really interesting from that perspective. I have already actually spoken to somebody who is going to be a podcast listener who is going to be racing for world first 99 thieving.
Oh,
power to him.
Give me 3 guesses, and then the first 2 don't count.
Okay. It's thieves.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, that was my guess.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So
I mean, that's fair.
Anybody here racing for world firsts?
I'm not racing for world first. What I am doing is I am going for as many Gathering 99s as I possibly can get. And
I figured that would be your game
right now. Yep.
Oh no, Dennis, go for 200 mils. Honestly, just rush a 200 mil in something and see if you can get one of the Halos. Honestly, because that those Halos are all going to go to people with 200 mil in a skill. There's going to be 200 mils in each skill, right?
No, I have very few 200 mils even with my main. A lot of 120s, but very few.
But 3x XP.
I'm really interested in these alternate skill capes.
We'll get to rewards in a minute.
It's exciting.
We'll get to rewards in a minute.
Yeah.
Sirion, world first fire making?
No,
Where are you getting the logs, Shane? You have to have... See, that's the thing. All of these, world firsts, it's got to be teams. It's going to be there's going to be a pair of people.
Exactly.
Tennis will feed me Orin, all Smith with it, right?
Yeah.
And we will together be the first,
True.
That's how that feels, because it's going to be so expensive.
I hope that is the case, because at least then there is a element of multiplayer in this mode. No, but the reason I don't is also because I just, this is going to sound really boring, but I have a life and I have a job and I don't have the time to take 2 weeks off to, no live RuneScape.
Yeah, we calculated it. To truly experience it, it'd be about an hour a day, but to be competitive, you'd really need to dedicate your
entire life.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. None of us, that's why I'm not. I thought for when I saw this for a brief second when I was considering doing it, I could get the quest one. I could do it. I know enough of the low level training methods. I've done this recently. I've done all the quests recently.
Yeah.
I can get the first quest cape, but also no. I don't have the time for that.
I'm looking at this, right? And oh my good, I've done archaeology completely Iron Man on my main, and I would love to do it again. I love the skill. I'd love to do it again. At the same time, I'm looking at my Steam library list of games that I really want to play, and I don't have time to play. And I ask myself, do I want to play, I don't know, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or do I want to play click on a rock every 5 seconds?
¿Por qué no los dos? 2 screens, baby.
Yeah,
clicker.
Yes, no, I understand, but it just that. I don't know.
It's not the same. I know.
Yeah. It feels like it feels like work, right? If I do this on RuneScape, because you have 8 weeks, you need to hit these milestones.
Right.
Burnout 101.
You get rewarded for hitting the milestones.
Well, they really did encapsulate the feeling of RuneScape.
Right. I mean, so we'll see. And I expect these first 8 weeks, we'll see what happens with that race and kind of where people hit what numbers. And
first 8 weeks, no treasure hunter.
Free, right? If this was free, if I had if I didn't
You'd
have
go
to
and
invest,
just poke in it. Yeah,
I would go in and poke in it, but I would also be like, hey, this is a fun experiment. Let's see how far I can get playing mobile only, for example. Because I don't really play RuneScape mobile. This could be a fun experiment, but I'm not going to pay, $12 a month for that?
Yeah, I think we worked out it was like $60, same price as a AAA title.
Exactly. You can buy a AAA title for the same money it costs to get membership for this for 5 months.
And we've done other game modes that you didn't have to pay for. Darkscape you didn't have to pay for.
Old School had different tech than we do. Again, we should clarify, because the mods have mentioned they intended this to be on the Jagex launcher. And that people could have multiple accounts within that were all from the same subscription for things like this. And the technology didn't get done in time for it, right?
Yeah.
So I can't fault the devs for that one. It's just an unfortunate thing that's how it ended up, because the economics of it is clearly, and again, this is going to be my through line for the night, is I want Jagex to make money, right? It does nothing but help me if the people who create and manage the game that I enjoy make a bunch of money off of it, right? As long as they're getting the idea that they make good content, we give them money for it. I don't know how that falls with this, but the key idea is that I think they're going to make a absolute cash cow between bonds and new accounts on this mode. And again, the idea with why bonds are enabled, and it's the hesitant, because people have to be able to buy cosmetics from the store with rune coins. Rune coins are buyable with bonds. Right? I don't love it, but I like Jagex making money, and I expect this to make them a lot of money. And I hope that the bad metrics that are going to come from the monetary cost of it are not going to play against all the things that we've talked about in terms of really putting down these game modes in future.
And on that, no treasure hunter for the first 8 weeks. Rune coins and bonds will exist. So that's where there's additional monetization on that. And we're kind of just laying the land here still. We'll talk about some of the response to that after. I want to talk about the XP rates that you're going to be getting in this. So in the first 8 weeks, XP rates will increase to a × 3 multiplier, and that'll be × 4 for skills under 70. And then after the 8 weeks, those XP rates will come down. So that's how they're giving everyone the jump start.
Yeah. Dennis, you had thoughts on this. I think this is a good time for it.
For the XP rates, well, first I just wanted to say, though, going back, I think some things are worth the wait. I think we've learned that with RuneScape content, and I think I would have waited for this for the account manager stuff. I think it would have been worth it. Now, going forward with the XP rates, this goes to something that I wanted to touch on a little bit later. These XP rates they're high. They're very high, which I normally don't have a problem with. And I think if this was a segregated game mode, I would be completely all for it, ready to go. I'd say, balls
League
to the
style.
wall.
Yeah.
But given the fact that these accounts are going to be integrated with the main game, I personally think that presents problems. If you are someone that has had a problem with bonus XP, or if you are a person that thinks XP is too easy in the game, then you would have to think that this is probably not right. I'm usually not on that end, but I do have to say I worked my ass off for a long time, and someone's going to cruise in 2 months and get exactly where I was. It doesn't set quite right with me.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not, if I may ask? Because I've heard this criticism quite a lot, and.
How's it different than lamps?
I mean, honestly, I've been in this boat for a long time right now, right? Where a few years ago, I was sort of going out to RuneScape in sort of cruise control mode, used a little treasure hunter, and I was pumping out some of the 99s, and they just didn't feel like milestones anymore because the game was handing them to me. So I set my own challenges, and I made my own choices on how I got those 99s. And despite the fact that over time, the game has gotten easier, let's be honest.
Yep. That's true.
It feels like the achievements have been more and more mine since I've stopped using those, and I feel good about it. And sure, somebody comes by in full Platinum Torva in a few months probably, and all the 120s and all that stuff. Good for them, but I can feel good about my goals, and somebody else reaching those same goals in an easier way. Why would that take away from what I have achieved in my own mind? I think, sure, you can see 99 capes as a prestige item, but let's be honest, they haven't been for a long time, I think.
Well, I mean, 90% of the time, I was right there with you, Sirion. In fact, it wasn't until this time. I've always felt that way when it comes to bonus experience. I've felt that way with DXP Live.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt that way. I think the difference with this is just how accelerated it is. I've never seen something that was 4 times and in 8 weeks. It's the amount of rocket fuel that they put on it, it's even more.
I think in pre-show, Faxi, you mentioned it, but I think you can hit 4 times in the game if you want right now. If during double XP weekend, you have bonus XP
easily,
and you use pulse scores, right? You're already at 4 times. So you can throw a lot of money at the.
You add in auras, you add in Wise perk. You can hit 5 and 6 times on a lot of skills. pretty easily.
See, that's the difference too, right? Because the dichotomy that we have right now is whether you agree with it or not, what we have is you grind and you get your levels, or you pay and you get your levels easier. But there's a choice there.
I have paid nothing for keys ever in my life. All of my pulse scores, all of that extra bonus experience, all of it is just from my keys from Premier Club. All
well, work in the system.
Or,
I mean, the idea is that to pay is to save time.
I mean, you know, and this is a terrible way to argue this because it is a counterexample that is very specific, but I got my alt to very near max. She is well above 80 minimum skills and approaching, mid 90s or 99s in more than half the skills in like 4 months without any boosts. She got a quest cape in that time too, while actually reading all of the dialogue, right? Like,
you sleep, by the way? Like, did you?
Oh no, I failed that.
What's going on here?
But like
24/7 RuneScape. Eat, sleep, scape, repeat.
No, it was. I mean, it was. I was busy at the time. I was, studying for exams and things that I did end up failing, but not necessarily a result of RuneScape. But
keep telling yourself that.
The idea is that like there is so much, especially again because there's almost like 300 quests close to now, something like that. 200, 300?
Oh, more than that.
325.
No. I mean, there's 400 quest points. Yeah, there's 200 and change. But like, multiply that by 2, this number of treasure hunter keys you get from that shit. I had like 400 treasure hunter keys that I spent, and it was during the like November time when they're like, yes, buy all the double key packages because the double key packages stack with the key package you get when you buy Premier Club. And so I was getting like the crazy promos that they were offering, and I with the DXP boost at the start of it, it was done, right? It was the difference. It was the distance between 2 DXPs to get an account very close to maxed, and like doing end game content, with like again and Questcape, all that stuff. So like,
how many cyclists are out there going to be doing quests like that though, stacking them up?
I loved that. Honestly, a lot of the early game quests are very fast. That was the issue.
And you have reason.
And I think that's going to be.
And you have a lot of reasons to do quests with this mode too, which we'll get into with the rewards.
I don't know that you. I don't know that you do.
Do tell on that, Shane, because
I don't know that you do. To be totally honest, but
I'm going to need some convincing.
Anyways, we'll come back to the XP rate question later, but I think you guys have laid out your concerns on it in terms of the Tanis' concern, Sirion's concern, and just how Taxi provides the alternate side about how we kind of already have something similar like this in game. If you want that, do you guys want to talk about some of the rewards now that you can get from this?
Yeah, we've been pansy footing around it for way too long. Let's have Shane stop interrupting us when we bring them up. Tell us about the rewards, Shane.
Well, you have the Luma Wolf Pet, which is based off of the skin from last year's Aurora Yak track that we saw with the cape and the pet in that promotion.
Legendary pet.
Yeah, so
love me a legendary pet.
You get that. There are also, and I think a lot of people are going to be going for these, there are also alternate skill capes for all the 99s and all the 120s that have inverted colors. So what this means is that your Slayer cape is going to be red with black trim, and your Herblore cape is going to be yellow with green trim.
I honestly, this is the reward that tempts me most to play this game.
A solid. Yes. Can you imagine? I don't know how this is going to work with untrims, but I'm picturing a solid black archaeology cape.
Yes,
that's going to look so clean. Are you kidding me?
Sirion, which cape do you want?
I want, first of all, the fire-making one, but after that, the archaeology one for sure.
Yellow fire-making cape. Also, light blue quest cape. I want to get a quest cape on this mode. I want to. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do a third quest cape or fourth, if you count old school. I can't. You offer me a pretty new quest cape. Let's say okay.
For me, it's got to be farming, of course, Tanis.
Well, I'm going probably in this order for mining, woodcutting, and fishing. Those three.
No farming,
and if
my
I
man.
have any
skipping out.
yeah, any extra time, I may try to do fire making or something like that.
Now, are you going to try to do? I know smithing is also kind of your jam. Would you not go for like the light blue? I think it's light blue smithing cape. Because you'll have all the ores if you mine them yourself. Like,
Yeah,
you're setting yourself up for it.
The only thing that I'm leery of with the smithing is it is pretty slow, and so I need to get the things done that I want to get done, and if I have any time, then maybe I can go for that.
So maybe
the
this is a good
I'm going to
use.
do is hit 70s though before that 8 weeks. You need to get everything you're going to go for up to that 70 before that 8 weeks is over. Like number one, if you're planning on doing this, get it done.
The XP, it sounds to me, and somebody in Jagex can correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds to me like every skill under 70 gets an automatic 100% extra XP. And once you hit 70, that falls off. So it sounds like it actually scales from day one, 1x XP to 3x XP in week 8, and then back down to 1x.
Yep.
Right, but it's only during the first 8 weeks, right?
No, I think that
it
that
takes
4x
8
bonus
Tannis, it takes 8 weeks to go up and then 8 weeks to come down.
Yeah. I think you just get 100%
cool,
extra bonus for when you're in your first million XP, because I think
that
1
makes it a
million
little
XP
less stressful.
is level 70.
Good.
But no, what I'm going to say is like you could like mine all your stuff pretty early, and then you'll get more experience from it by just doing it in the middle, right? So you'll get that smithing experience faster if you do it in the middle. So you use fewer ores and stuff. That's the other thing. I also want to like really mention this, and I'm going to mention again in terms of our actual opinions on this, but the bonds part of this, I am a person who does not like to pay for my membership. I like Jagex to make money. Jagex makes more money if I pay for my membership in bonds. And then I get it for free.
And then that's kind of an outstanding question, too, about how bond transfer back to the main game will work. Because one thing we haven't mentioned yet is that you will be able to transfer your account back to main at any time that you want.
Right. My goal with this is low-key. Have fun. Earn a bunch of fun capes and pets and whatever comes along with it. And get as fast as I can to, like, end-ish game bossing, because they drop all of the alks, and I'm going to make all of the money and then buy all of the bonds for cheap so that my main doesn't have to pay for membership this year, because I haven't been keeping up with my dailies.
That's an interesting idea. Other rewards you get are the Challenger Armor and Challenger Lance. This is a set of hybrid armor that levels up with your combat skills to max level 80, and the Challenger Lance does the same thing, upgrades itself as your combat levels rise.
Do we know great. If this is augmentable, though?
I do not.
But for early game, this is going to be really super helpful. Like if you are doing any kind of combat stuff, like I was already thinking about that. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I want to touch combat because then I got to go through all the armors and
See, here's what I would have. And here's your tip for all of our people who, before you earn this armor, you can go to the Tuska event and earn Tuska War Priest without having done any combat, and you can wear that Tuska War Priest, and that will also level as you level 25, 50, and 75. So that will level up with you too. That's what I will probably more likely be using, because the passive effect from that is nice extra damage. The lance intrigues me, but if it's not augmentable, I'm just going to end up using the, whatchamacallit? The Sunspear, anywho. Yeah, because perks.
All right. Also, there's the Halo pet skins. All skilling pets earned in this mode will have a unique gold halo, and what we have not mentioned yet with these rewards is that most of these rewards will have a token that can be traded once, not through the Grand Exchange. So you can use this token, send it back to your main. So if you want that alternate archaeology cape, or you want the alternate...
I despise this.
Or you want the alternate farming pet, you can give that to your main as well. It's only going to be tradable once, though, not through the GE.
Make them like bonds. Just make them tradable once through the GE. I despise that people are going to have to actually seek out and trade fuel. It's just it's not fuel for the merchants because they can't trade them on, but it's just going to make it harder for people to get the value that things are worth out of stuff.
Go for the scammers.
I mean, I also understand why they do it. I get that it's annoying that you can't trade them, but I think you're not supposed to trade them, right? The idea is
they're meant to be
your
for you.
achievement, and you just give it to
your
your main, right? You give it to your main.
That's fair. I'm like, I get
they
that,
had linked
but that's
accounts,
not how that's going to end up, right?
No, I know. There's going to be people trading this for crazy money. And
Hey, Sirion, sell me a kidney and I'll get you that fire cape.
so what? No, I need my kidney.
That's fair.
Got 2 of them.
I need both of them.
Yeah.
Because after this episode, I need to. Yeah. Anyway, let's.
There are 2 other rewards that are going to be completely tradable to anybody massively. There is the Halo of Returning that you will get when you complete various milestones. You have to complete 8 milestones in game that include hitting markers for total levels. You'll get 1 for every 500 total levels, 1 for every 50 quest points, and 1 for every 2,000 rune score. And after you get 8 of those, you will get the Halo of Returning, which looks like the old Disc of Returning, except it appears on your head.
Which, for the record, I'm anticipating people that are playing in a balanced playstyle will probably get this around 1,500 total. So
yeah, it's the it's the
around
golden
the level
party hat.
Yeah, if you get 100,000 experience in all your skills and do a lot of the early game quests, you'll end up with the right number of rune score to where you'll hit this. So this is the, like, if you do, like, everybody's like the free to play experience, if you do like that amount of work, that you'll net one of these Halos, which is nice. It's a good, like, hey, you did it reward.
Yeah, then we have the Golden Halo,
Assholes.
which comes from the first to get 99s, the first to get 120s, the first to get 200 mils, and all of the other world firsts, including Quest Cape and Max Cape, and people who are in the top 100 of each skill in general.
Yeah, I don't know about 200 mils. I think we calculated out, and there's going to be roughly 3,000 of these in game.
Yep.
Which will make it expensive. Not party hat expensive, but expensive.
Depends on if this mode comes back, how expensive it'll be.
It's true. If it's a recurring item, they're not guaranteeing that it's
That's true.
A single time release. But I actually wouldn't mind if they just continued to give out gold halos for competitions they do in future. I wouldn't be mad about that.
Yeah,
that'd be a fun, like, this is just the prestige award. I do wish that they weren't tradable. Because then, like, I mean, you get rewarded in gold for the achievement you had, but I would feel better if you got rewarded in, prestige item for the, I don't know. Well, maybe that's overly optimistic.
But if you play if you're just playing this, to play it and to have fun, but you still, like, if 99% of the time you're on your main, you want to show that off on the account that you're playing, right? Like,
I mean, make it tradable once then.
And that's fine. I wouldn't, when that's what we have with our capes.
Right. Again, we'll see how this goes.
Okay. Following from that, we have boons. Which are effectively passive buffs in most cases that will help move yourself along through the various levels and experience in game. Speaking of that,
effectively, none of the boons carry over to main game.
No, they're time limited buffs. Like, there's one of them that you can get, I think, 3 times that just increases your level by 1 in this game mode.
You can get that 5 times, and the boon gives 3 levels each, so it is a total of 15 effectively rare candies that you gain as you progress. Which, you save until you're ready to convert your account back. I'd save them until the last day. Okay. Or until I hit, level 85 Herblore. If Herblore the, as expected, the big, expensive, obnoxious thing in the
True.
Front, right?
Very, very, very good idea.
And then just rush it.
You know what we need to do before this thing launches? We need to do a couple of theory crafting segments on how to do certain skills.
Well,
at some
we
point.
also don't know if those are going to be bankable, right? Like,
True.
That's the problem is we don't know.
You might have to pop it off right away.
Yeah, if they're not stackable, not bankable, you're not just going to be living with 13 inventory slots to say in an Ultimate Iron Man.
No. There's also Endurance, which gives you infinite run. Regeneration, 5% life points, prayer points, and summoning points. Regen every 6 seconds out of combat.
So every 2 minutes you get your full bar back if you're out of combat, just AFKing.
That's interesting. Artisan ones, skilling station bonuses are constantly applied.
You save a bunch of herb lore secondaries. You save a bunch of, planks from things. Yeah. That actually is going to be really handy.
That's a big one. Tannis, you like that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
It's about halfway through the boons.
Ammunition, same thing, 25 or 50% chance to save on ammo and runes, respectively.
And we talked about this. I think that it's going to be really challenging to come up with the volume of runes that are required to really, and same with ammo, to really do this. Ammo might be okay because you can have there's some cheaper ammo options, but runes I think are going to be relatively short supply because the amount you find in shops is not going to be enough.
Yeah.
So
that'll be interesting money making on the rune front. Porter, pocket slot, 50% chance to porter, relatively odd. And skill pets, I read this one wrong when I was first reading the news post. Plus 100% chance for skill pets. Doubles the chance to get the skill pet.
Yeah, it does not guarantee you a skill pet every time you gain XP in a skill. So congratulations, you earned every point available in the league. You are one of the only people. Here you go. No. Yeah, so double chance for skill pets. I mean, that's going to make farming, people are going to, if anybody does 120 farming looking at you and doesn't claim their pets, they'll end up with 6 pets from getting 120, which is hilarious. Versus fire making where they'll end up with 1, maybe 2.
So that's the boon side of it. I feel like anybody else feel like the boons are the least controversial aspect of this entire thing?
Yeah.
They looked at a lot of the what buffs have people been given and enjoyed in leagues and other RuneScape modes that we can use here that will not that are within the realm of normal game mechanics. And they said, okay, we're going to give everybody those things. They seem neat. They seem fun. They're a big draw for part of why I want to play the mode, right? Having infinite run without having to train agility. Thank you. I think it's boon number 2.
Yeah.
Right? You, Jagex, you're a hero. You told people, yes, you will run out of run energy. You do need to train agility, but not right now.
What level does the archaeology relic for run energy unlock? 81. 81.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but you could just also rush archaeology. You wouldn't be wrong. I couldn't fault somebody for doing that. So,
All right.
But,
so that's most of the rewards. Anybody want to circle back on any of these, or should we move on to what the wider community has been saying and contrast that with how Update feels here?
I think we move on. We get into the dirt.
I think this next one is a really easy transition.
Yeah. Well, there has been a ton of confusion about this, that it is RS3 leagues, and the thing that needs to be said, and we said this at the start, this is not leagues, and I think this also comes down to messaging, which we'll talk about later, but the community has been seeing this as RS3's version of leagues, and for those of you guys who have dabbled in that and are aware of it, I don't think that's the fair comparison to make, no?
No. I mean, I earned a Rune Cup in Trailblazer League. I played an amount of Shattered Relics League. I enjoy the modes. This is definitely either very much League's light. We want this game to be, fun and fast-paced, air quotes, RuneScape fast-paced, for people that are coming back. And again, the biggest thing here is that this, we have to keep mentioning it. The audience intended for this, according to the designers, is returning players. And they have added a bunch of features in that make it more interesting to people that have been playing the game for more established players. And again, there's, I think, a lot of arguments about why that was done and how it was done well and poorly, and we may cover that later, we may not. Either way, it's definitely not leagues, and the community needs to stop. This is not designed for you. This is designed looks like a fun slate of RuneScape gameplay changes for a new player.
Yeah,
right?
and is the comparison to League happening? Leagues, that's a different thing. Is the comparison to it happening because RS3 so desperately wants their own League-style game mode?
It's hard to say. I will say on old school, and maybe this gives the old school players too much ammo, but I'll do it anyways.
No, they deserve it.
I don't know if they do. When I played Trailblazer, right? And you get up to that 16x multiplier. The XP rates I'm getting on that 16x multiplier are like, yes, a lot of skills are now trading at like 800,000 experience per minute, or per hour. Per minute. What game does 800,000 experience per hour sound like to me at the end game? Oh, that's right. That's just how we play the game normally these days.
That's RS3.
It used to be like that. That's why we all took that long to max. And so, like, we need a little bit less of a buff for if we're going to have a mode active for 2 months or, longer. To like maybe reach the same end game points. They were saying on the stream that they don't expect a whole lot of people to max.
That's going to be happening.
Not the newer players. I will say that if a newer players are really going out and maxing, they really have messed up the balance. But I don't expect that. Like I say, I think that people's XP rates are like 1/13 of the way to a 99. They get an extra 100%. But otherwise, it's scaling. The average XP rate is going to be just a 2x multiplier.
All right.
Which
and I think it just comes back to that idea that they wanted to try something seasonal based. This could be the precursor for a RuneScape League style thing, but this is most definitely not that.
That's the way to look at it, right?
Exactly.
It's just, this is a game mode for returning players, and hey, they spent some effort in making this maybe relevant for you, but also maybe it's not relevant for you. Fine. It's not like every update is always relevant to you anyway. And I get it. Now you have to wait at least 5 months until this is over before maybe something comes out for you, but at the same time...
Oh no, this isn't replacing traditional updates.
No.
In terms of
I mean
more
like
for League content. Yeah.
People are looking for League content, right? And now basically what they're being told is, no, we have this now for the next 6 months. There's not going to be Leagues. But let's be honest, there wasn't going to be anyway. Probably. Right. And also they at least did their best to make it relevant to some people, even though it might not be relevant to the people who are complaining that it's not relevant for them.
That's
the normal game isn't going on.
I know.
There you go. I just want to say one thing before we move on to the question of microtransactions, because what we have had thus far with RS3 in terms, and you guys mentioned this in terms of things that have brought people back, archaeology always is something that we go back to as being the case study in how you design an RS3 skill, and archaeology was just so darn successful. But we also have to remember that that was the opening days of the pandemic, and I don't want to necessarily combine those two things together, but this is going to be a very interesting experiment for the RS3 team to see if this is going to be a way to bring new and lapsed players into the game with that cherry on top for maybe, hey, this is something existing players can do if you want to get some cosmetics for your main. And I think that's the lens that it has to be looked at.
Yeah, go for tennis.
I was just going to say, as long as what Sirion said doesn't happen, to where they need to be able to pull these strands apart in case going forward. I hope if one thing doesn't quite work or isn't quite successful, they don't can everything. I think there's potential here. I think there are some good things here. But what Sirion said is, it. I hope it's not pathetic, because it's.
We have a trend here on this podcast to being prophetic, by the way.
I know.
And
I'm well aware.
Let me throw a counter prophecy in this, because and I did the same thing with Trailblazer League when I played it. I had none intention to play that game mode until the day it was released, and then I started playing it the day it was released, and I played that crap every day for pretty much the entire duration, right? I went so hard in that because when people were theory crafting around the start of it, and they were saying like, okay, what's the efficient way to start in this new game mode where we're all Iron Man, but in this case where there's no economy, right? There's nothing in the game world. Where do you go? What's the challenging thing? What do you want to get done before players, right? Do you rush archaeology so that you're not competing for dig sites later because you just love the skill and you don't want to deal with people? Do you rush like rune crafting and just go straight to the rune span because you want to have 91 rune crafting so that you can sell all of those blood of nature runes, just all of them, make all the money? Do you like, there's so much interesting theory crafting about how you want to approach this, and like the challenge is like, where do you get your weapons from? How do you get a weapon above tier 80? Do you like get your hybrid gear and then go camp at God Wars 2? Like, right, there's so many things that are like, you think about it. You spend some time thinking about like, how would I do this? What is the challenge here?
And it's very interesting, and that's what has sold me.
Exactly, and me too. And like, that's the theory crafting that I did on day of release because everybody around me was like talking about these things that they were doing, and like I'd been playing old school for like 2 weeks at that point. I was really new into it on the account that, you know, eventually just went on and did very well. But like, that's the deal, is that I think this is going to pull people in because they're like, it's RuneScape, but it's different and interesting. And I hope that the membership cost doesn't push people away.
Yeah.
Because I think it might. That was the advantage of Leagues, was that I could just jump in and see if I liked it, and I liked it.
Yeah. No,
you know?
and that is a big part to me, right? Like, I just don't have... Like, every time that my yearly subscription point comes around for RuneScape, I have to decide, am I gonna pay another year of money knowing that I can't even log in every day? Right. And maybe I can log in every weekend day, but even that is uncertain, right? Like, I largely keep paying for RuneScape because of the community, and I keep playing it. But realistically, no.
But at the same time, if you had the dopamine of like, you're getting a level, not just like every, remember, level 1 is 82 XP, so you're getting that level every 42 XP now. Like,
no. I get you.
Dopamine just showering on you.
But I still, I mean, sure, dopamine and all, that's great, but I still need to have time to boot up the game in the first place. And
that's it.
A subscription game for someone who has a full-time job and 5 other hobbies that take up time, right? It's hard to justify. It's hard to justify. And just to get back to the whole thing where, like, why don't we just, release archaeology again, or a thing like it, instead of this? This probably didn't take 2 years to make. Archaeology took 2 years to make, right?
Yeah.
No, and if this can get half of the effect that archaeology had for a much cheaper of a cost, and then have like
it's a success,
sustained effect, it's a success, right? So,
and I think that's the lens that people aren't viewing it through.
Yep.
In any case, I want to talk about microtransactions, but before that, I want to talk about the kind of payment that people are just too generous to do, and that's people who support us on Patreon here at RSBANDB Update. We thank you guys so much for allowing us to do what we do. So this week, I'd like to thank, in particular, Amos Reed, Andrew C., Arvids L., Big Huge Rat, Chunk the Monk, Diana, Dominic F., Drama Free, Duramax, Elomady, Flawzaman, Free Milk, Jacob G., Jade Gizmo, Jason S., Jeebus, Jesse W., Ling01, Lucky Ducky, Mohan V., Nate the Great, Nick G., OTR Gamer, Patty the Architect, Parnassius, Renhawk, Ricky A., Samuel FL, Skiotan, Scott DS, Seth W., Stubby, Tabby, The Naked Captain, Tom V., and Zant. Thank you, everybody, for your support. It truly means the world to us, and if you want to learn more about our Patreon offerings, check us out at patreon.com/RSBNB. Coming up next week, you will have a poll that will allow you to vote in the next monthly bit, but before that, as we mentioned at the top of the show, you have the bank roast of my bank. You get to see what my bank looks like. You get to see Taxi and Earth go through my bank.
Some relics in there,
and just laugh and cry at points. And it was a fun time, I will say that. And as Taxi said at the top of the show, I like both these two people very much, and there was no ill intent behind any of it. It was just a fun time.
Maybe a little.
Oh no, but that's on the Patreon feed now at patreon.com/RSBNB. You get that. You get all the monthly bits. You get a special mention in our show notes. And you, of course, help fund the costs of hosting and production of RSBANDB for as little as $1 a month. If you want to go up to the next tier, we have for $3 a month, you'll receive a special VIP rank on Discord, including chat channel access and a mention at the podcast at the start of the month, in addition to high-quality stereo versions of the show. And if you want to give the ultimate gift for $5 a month, you'll receive a shout-out each and every week on the podcast and gain exclusive access to the outtakes that we use to make the clip show, in addition to everything else. And yes, there will be a couple from this week's episode as well. So if that sounds interesting to you or you just like the podcast, check us out at patreon.com/RSBNB. Thanks so much, everyone. All right. So microtransactions are a question, of course, with Fresh Start Worlds. We said no Treasure Hunter for 8 weeks. Bonds will be there.
Yep.
Yeah, I find it funny because a lot of people were immediately complaining about this fact, like, oh, so somebody can just throw a lot of money at it, get ourselves a lot of bonds, turn it into in-game GP, and just
But the
rush,
GP
right?
won't be there at day one.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, the GP won't be there. At the same time, right?
Depends on where you go.
At the same time, if people want to do that, let them, right? Like, and this is the thing, right? Like a lot of people, this always comes down to the overall MTX discussion about how, this whole thing is just a massive money grab to get people to pay more and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, so
Counterpoint. Competitive element. Prayer.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I actually a lot of people are like, oh, I'd rather pay a little bit more and not have to worry about microtransactions and just get the game. So
but I don't think they realize how much they'd have to pay more.
What would you pay for RuneScape each month to play it? What do you think would be a fair price? You want to know what one of the answers I got? $10 per month. That's less than the current membership fee. So people are like saying, I would pay more so I don't have to worry about MTX, and yet they would pay less than the current membership fee to play in the first place. And I think it comes down to the fact that people don't know how expensive the game is to maintain.
Exactly.
Realistically, if there were no MTX, we would probably be looking at a membership fee of, I don't know, $20?
Yeah, that's right.
At least.
And that's an opinion that is made from people who haven't dipped their toes into either the software design world or the world of business and economics, in all honesty.
Yeah. It's and this is really interesting, right? Like Steam games are much more expensive than mobile games, right?
I mean, but old school players don't have MTX. Look at their game. Their game's doing just fine. You're welcome.
That's their key point too.
It is a key point, and I agree.
But that's because RS3 is funding that,
subsidizing it. Yeah, I was going to say we've had that conversation.
I think part of it is true. I also think that old school benefits from the economy of scale. I'll be honest. There's just more old school players. Period. Also, the cost of maintaining old school is just much less because they don't have as much of an environment team and as much of a music team and as much of a voice acting team. Like they have a larger community, right? Like a larger membership base, and they're maintaining, by all means and purposes, a simpler game. So of course that's going to work out.
Like they can fit the entire dev team at the bottom of their news post.
Exactly. So.
Yeah.
But to get back to the games on Steam are more expensive than the games on mobile, and the reason that's the case is that on mobile you have people subsidizing you. When you buy an app or a game on mobile, most of the cases you are not an economic user. You're still net loss for the creator. But there's those people, and this happens especially in Asia, that will spend hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars on a single game. And don't ask me why they find it fun that you can finish a game by throwing $1,000 at it and then throw it to the wayside. I don't know why they find it fun, but those people exist. And business models work around the fact that there are some people who just want to spend more money at a game than other people. And therefore, having a single subscription is not a good business model because everybody then spends the same amount of money on your game, even though there's people who would easily spend more money if you gave them the opportunity. This is an opportunity to get people who are willing to spend more money on RuneScape to spend more money on RuneScape. You don't have to, but other people do. So you don't have to pay more membership fees.
It's the charity car wash principle, right? Where if you're doing charity car wash, you have donations rather than it's $5 for car wash.
Yeah,
because some people are going to pay you $20, right?
Yeah.
Some people, I mean,
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I think this is, MTX in general is a case like that. I think this is another case like that. And, we can say whether this was meant to be a money grab. I don't want to speculate on that. A lot of people seem to be like, oh, Carlisle and all that stuff. We can speculate, and there's probably a source of truth, like a part of it is truth.
There's a grain of truth in everything, right? And the end of the day, again, I'm a fan of Jagex making money. You've made a very good point about kind of how the MTX kind of plays into that, and I think that feeds into the next thing we wanted to talk about, which is the idea of like, why does this have to be a separate account? And we've talked about already that this was not intended to be a separate account, but like, again, I think it comes back to what you're saying, is that they're finding people that are returning to the game, don't already have an active subscription and aren't mad about this. And two, it does earn them some extra money from people that are willing to pay extra money for a different experience of the game, right? And I think that that's kind of what it comes down to with the account question. And love that or hate that's, what they're going with. And like, it's a little sleazy given that sounds like they had intended to make it free to people who had subscriptions when the launcher was up and the launcher wasn't up, but like,
a lot of people say free and linked accounts, but I think that is all fed around this misconception that when the Jagex launcher comes out, you can have multiple characters on the same membership, and I think that was never the intention.
That was never said, and that was asked when they unveiled the launcher. That no, you're still going to have to pay for each.
And I think this was the same. I think
they said they were going to be different profiles, so they did say that for this.
But I don't know if that necessarily means separate characters that you then don't have to pay for. I think it just comes down to a convenience, right?
That's the comparison.
Right. Yeah, it's just bringing it together. But what if I would have been fine if MTX subsidized this whole endeavor? But they're getting it from both ends. They're not only doing the MTX, but they're also making you pay the subscription. I would be totally fine with the MTX, just like what you were talking about, Sion. That could subsidize it for all I care, so that you could give people a chance to try this. If you can't get people to try it, you can't make it successful. And it's a big ask to get them to pay $60.
I agree. And I think the obstacle and the initial payment is going to be a problem potentially with this game mode, and I think that's going to be, I think the big marker for the success is whether people are going to get past that obstacle of having to pay a new membership fee.
And we'll know on day one based on how many people are logging in to this. So. Yeah. And it's also going to come down to what kind of PR they get, because there have been things already in gaming publications that have come up talking about this, but we're still 3 weeks out from this launching, and it's going to be a question of the analogous thing I could think of is the get out the vote operation the night before, making sure that everybody who has expressed interest in playing is going to be there on day one to play it, and all your allies out there in the press are going to be talking about this and getting those people to sign up, whether it be through desktop or mobile. And keep in mind, people who already have RS Mobile signed up, that's 20% of the RS3 player base right now. And that mobile push notification for people who have their RuneScape app to try and get them to play this, that's going to be an impressive tool for people who are on mobile, especially if they can just push a button and use their Apple or Google profile and sign up for a new account.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the account question, I think, is one that really phases the existing players more than the people who are going to be signing up, but it's still an interesting discussion to have. They said they wanted linked accounts, but at the same time, I don't think this is a real sticking point for the people who this is targeted at. Because if you want to play this, you're going to play it. If you're a lapsed player who wants to come back to RuneScape, you're going to play it. I don't see this as that much of an obstacle.
No, and especially if the target audience is lapsed players,
that's definitely not a barrier.
I mean, again, Jagex makes more money if the people who come and play this are lapsed players than if they're current players. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I mean, subscription's a bigger barrier than the MTX. I don't think that's a big deal.
I mean, and again, people that are less experienced with the game, if they're trying to keep up or whatever, if they're used to other game models, they'll pay the money for the bonus, to get the gold, where we might not need to because we know how to do things efficiently.
I have talked to people
Love it or hate it.
I have talked to people who have listened to this podcast, I won't name names, who during one of the Smoldering promotions about 18 months ago dropped $400, $500 on it.
Sure.
So they're out there. They're out there.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's just one of those things where, for some people that's a completely fun way of playing the game, and good. That's
there she blows. It's a hump.
That's €100 for
all right.
each of us that we don't have to pay in membership fees, right?
Then that leads us to the question about people were wondering, okay, well, you're having an 8-week period with fresh high scores, fresh economy, and there's going to be a question of, does this need to be competitive? And factoring in all of the other boosts that we're getting, does this all devalue the achievements that we have? I kind of want to rope these two together, the question of the competitive gameplay style with the devaluation, or the question of devaluations of main game. Tanis, I know you had thoughts on this.
On bringing them into the main game?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it before, so I don't have much to add. I do see all sides, and normally it's not something I would get my panties all in a bunch about, but it just it's a little, it's a lot.
It does seem that they're effectively giving, right? They're giving new accounts. Here's what on average, if you were to play consistently at all times for 16 weeks, what accounts to double XP for 16 weeks. Like, we can't tell you you're wrong there, right? That's a big head start, regardless of how the game has changed over time. So, again, strong arguments on to be made on the side of, it's a little overpowered and it is potentially unfair to folks that have worked hard. But there's also, and again, there's the other side of that too. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's one of these cases where, sure, you could say, it's going to devalue my achievements, but honestly, your achievements are not being taken away, right? Like, nobody is stealing, like, people are seeing this as a zero-sum game. And that goes to a lot of these community responses, by the way, where they're like, oh, somebody else is getting something, that means it must have been taken away from me. No. We are creating value across the board here, right? That's the thing that's happening. Well, it's not a zero-sum game.
In addition to that, there's a timeline function of it too, right? And I know we need to be moving on, so we'll close out. But the idea that the you got your achievements when you earned them, right? Those people who had runecrafting capes in 2004, those people were gods, right? And these people getting runecrafting capes now does not change the fact that those people were gods.
Well, no. And the final
thing,
thing,
had the cape the whole time.
Well, and the last thing that I just want to touch on with this is I don't think that I don't necessarily think it's so much as a devalue thing. I think it would have worked better had those accounts been separate. The reason they're not is because they are trying to bring back the old players, and it isn't leagues. But I would prefer something that was more similar to leagues.
I agree. As a current player, I think we all are in agreement that we would love a RuneScape 3 leagues more than we want this. But
and if this is successful, it could very well open the door to that, and people don't seem to see that.
It's also just that this is just one of the consequences from Jagex making this more than just a lapsed players thing, but also, trying out the seasonal content thing and the boons.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a combination of all things, and it makes things a little bit awkward because now you're sort of dealing with this weird Frankenstein, and that, I think, is what causes this, and maybe was a mistake.
And on that note, it didn't hit me until Tuesday on this what the closest analogy is to this in another game. But Star Trek Online, every spring has a series of recruitment events where you can make a character for a different faction. And this is how they bring people back to the game. They pair it with the story drop, and then those characters get an additional set of buffs and benefits, and existing characters can take into it as well. And it's very similar to this, even with the improved XP rates. And the only difference is, of course, is that Star Trek Online is a multi-character game, whereas RS is not. And that's something that it really, for me, solidifies the target of who this is aimed at. So
agreed. We talked briefly about bringing achievements into the game. Probably also ought to talk about, and there's been a lot of people. I'm not even going to say a lot. I have not personally seen anybody making this argument. I know that it's been made that there's going like this 1.2x increased drop rate, which isn't even on the news post yet. But that's what Kalea was saying on live stream was 1.2x is we're going to bring all of these items into the main game, which people are then going to just sell off and wreck the economy. There's so many people in the main game that need those. One, I am of the opinion that this game has way too many super fun items that nobody can access because they're either super rare or expensive as frick.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And all of the items that are like a lot of the items that are going to be dropped from this that people are going to be using are like God War's 2 weapons. Oh, you're going to devalue my Fury Blades? Get out! No, that's not a thing. Like, there's not going to be enough fracture staves and and like bows and like there's going to be some hardcore PVMers that like I'm going to make a bunch of money, and like Carapac is both a bunch of money and earning me stave pieces, and they're going to do that, and like power to them. But is that going to be enough things that it's going to like wreck the economy of the fractured staff? And should no? And
the
honestly,
fractured staff price does need to come down.
It needs to come down anyways. So fight me, bite me, whatever you want to do.
Even if it comes down like what, 100 mil, 200 mil, it's a drop in a bucket. It's nothing compared to the overall price of it.
Exactly. So the price may drop near the end of this, or even before the end of it, if people are converting their accounts early, which I expect might happen, right? Especially if they're buying bonds and want to convert those bonds before the Premier Club buying season ends, right? But like, I don't think you may see a mild drop, but nothing more severe than you'd see during a free death week. Honestly, truly honestly, I think a free death week will in like, if they have another one in December, will just bring in more items than this will. So, whatever.
There is no Premier season though, right?
Oh, it's Premier all the time now?
You can now always get Premier.
Well, that's cool. So I guess, maybe keep the account.
It always comes with a yearly subscription.
Yeah, but there is a Premier sale in November still.
Okay.
And bonds shall go up in November, remember.
Remember,
bonds go up in November.
Amazing.
That's wonderful,
that would be an episode title if we had any reason to talk. That's a good one. Regardless, I think that kind of covers the community response.
Yeah,
is there something else you guys want to touch on?
No, I think we're good on that. I mean, unless Sirion has any more ideas on the economy based on the RNG and stuff.
No, I don't think so. And I think a lot of the community response just comes down to the fact that, like,
it's an echo chamber.
Zero sum. No. It's just a zero sum game, right? Like, people are always feeling that, oh, I didn't get the thing that I wanted, so. Or other people are getting
wrong.
Exactly.
Baby rage like you mean it, lads.
And it's not so bad. Like, this is a piece of content that you can just completely ignore. And a lot of people seem to feel that Because it's not for them, it's gonna ruin the game forever. And
nobody's losing comp or trim or Master Quest Cape or any of their in-game achievements because this exists. You can in fact fully ignore this without having any impact.
Exactly.
You whatsoever.
The economy, your money is not gonna suddenly not be worth anything either. That also won't be the case. So
hide thy rage.
Exactly. Like celebrate it for the good things, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But celebrate it for the good things it can bring, including new friends and people to play with Skip with.
Aww. All right. We want to talk a bit about what could be done to improve Fresh Start Worlds now, and the first thing I want to hammer on, and has been something that's been needed to have been talked about with this entire thing, is that when we look back at how this was announced, first there was a leak on Sunday, and as a result, that contributed to messaging problem number one. But the entire, I feel like the entire community campaign surrounding this, from the live stream to the news post and the responses that either did or did not get sent out by Jagex, illustrate that a good portion of the misconception and the people who are concerned about this is due to a messaging problem at Jagex, which, Tanis, you and I have talked about countless times on the podcast about how important it is to set and manage expectations, but also in the communications, both from the PR side and the community side and the JMON side, all sides actually, is to manage your messaging to a point where you're being persuasive with the community, you're pacing and leading the community, you're using the leading messaging that is going to elicit the responses that you want, and then following from that, you can pivot to talk about what you really want to talk about with Fresh Start Worlds. And that was missing with the unveiling of this, both in the live stream, I feel, and the news posts and the standalone website for it. And as a result of that, I think, had that been remedied, a lot of the questions that had come up in the community could have been sidestepped.
I mean, they could have a whole complicated message strategy. I think they should just have not said, hey, here's a gift for you, also you have to pay for it, right? Like, there's things like that. I mean, that's just things like that doesn't sit well with people, and that is one of those things where I think they should just not have. Like, why link this to 300 million? At all.
Oh, they did explain that. They did explain that, actually.
Apparently, they did, but
they've been getting picked up by a lot of news sources because of the 300 mil accounts thing that they weren't expecting, and so they're linking this in with it so that they can, in their news posts and their interviews and articles in all these places, they can say, "Oh yeah, RuneScape exists. Also, we're having a returning player thing." That's why, because they're hoping that.
Yeah, but that
they needed to also that's being overlooked.
Yes, true. Exactly. And to the existing community, it's been told hey, this is our gift to you. But also, it's you have to pay for it. Also, it's not even meant for you. It's actually for returning players. I'm like,
the competition aspect was meant for us. There's no way that they meant for the returning players to be competing. That is specifically for us.
And I think that is just something, sure, that's the whole complicated, and we can talk about messaging at Jagex all day long. But in the end, it just comes down to the fact that maybe that was just not very clever.
Yep.
And I just want to add one more point to what Shane was saying, because I think this is important too, because they have had this at times, depending on who was at the helm. It needs to feel authentic. I do not want to feel that I'm being spun. I want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can accept it. I'm a big boy. That was missing for me. It felt very political, very spinny, and I just knew that it wasn't authentic. And like I said, it hasn't always been that way. It's been back and forth, but we have seen that in the past, and it makes a huge difference.
Look, I think you make a great point there, and I'm just thinking about it, right? Like, I'm not saying this is true, but imagine that Jarex was saying, like, look, we're struggling, we don't have the accounts, we need new players, we're gonna do this, and we need your help to get your friends back and make this a success because we need the player base to keep this game up and running. I also understand why they don't say that, because you don't want a product looking weak.
Weakness.
But at
Can't
the same
show
time,
weakness.
But at the same time, it would have been like, let's fight for this together.
You could, I was going to say, you could spin this as, hey, we've got all these accounts. Let's celebrate that and try to get a bunch of people who used to play back into the game, right? You could phrase that entirely positively. You do not have to include the negative aspect.
No,
and it's a good point for the messaging.
Like Tana said, tell me the ugly, right? I don't mind if you tell me this kind of stuff and that we're in trouble, but
the investor's mind.
Yeah, I get it, but I think you need to treat your players, which are largely adults right now, as adults at this point.
Fair.
Because we actually come together when look at how the community has come together when it comes to different charity events and different things. Like, if we actually heard something from Jagex that said, hey guys, we got all pulled together, I really think we would. Like, I really think we would. Yes, you're going to have your naysayers, but you got them anyway. So what do you got to lose?
Again, dead horse. The messaging on this was rough, and they flubbed it by releasing the post early and not having conversations. And I think they tried to get a lot of the creators on board, and that messaging was also done poorly, right? Like, it's a good message for them. They've been doing a generally good job lately. I will say that they've been doing a generally good job of they did an excellent job letting us know updates that were coming with things like the year ahead type document they were showing. Like, they've done a relatively good job with this. The devs do seem to be generally enjoying their work and putting out good work, and big ups to them. And this is frankly no exception. It looks like it's going to be again, it looks like something that I want to play, and I understand where people are mad about having to pay extra for it. But I'm looking forward to starting a new account and blowing through a bunch of levels. Like, that just sounds like fun to me right now.
And I think on that topic, we also need to talk about the fact that, the JMods don't, they've been getting a lot of bad stuff and hate and all that stuff. And I am absolutely convinced that anyone who works at that company really does want the best for what's the game, and I think the people who work on this have done their very best.
The devs in particular.
If there's one thing,
in particular have done their very best to make this as fun for everyone and as good for the game as possible.
Agreed.
Let's give them constructive feedback.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they probably also know better about what's actually going on behind the scenes than we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of constructive feedback.
And if there's one, we'll go there in a second, but if there's one thing I've learned this year in scouting out the people for Behind the Crown, most everybody who works there that I've talked to has passion exploding out from everywhere. They want
that's the games industry for you.
Exactly.
That's the games industry for you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
speaking of things to improve how, right? Like, this is the feedback that we want to give them, this constructive feedback of you guys want to make a really cool thing. This is the ways that we think you could make it cooler, right? Like, that's part of one of the things that we really wanted to talk about today. And we didn't have it's a hard thing because we keep coming up with arguments for and against everything, right? Like, I dislike this competitive element, but I understand wanting to bring in, experienced players into this mode so that you've got, one, experienced players around, and two, it's good business model, and I cannot fault them for that personally. And the linked accounts thing would be really nice if it was a profile that you could separate like leagues that was going to be coming and going and not there all the time. But
we know that's a technical problem.
I know it is a technical problem right now, and I think somebody put in here some form of discount for existing members. I think that would actually be really cool. Just give everybody the $5 rate. If you've got another main account that you can, if you use the same linked email, right? Allow people to use the same email that's probably a technical no-no. But if you could,
your email is your username right now, so.
Yeah, if you could find, but I guess you could just take, Jimmy could take Tommy's who Tommy has a main game account, Jimmy could start an account for $5 a month, but even like making this cheaper, right? To try to like encourage people to start playing it.
Yeah.
Give it an $8 membership again. Heck,
Yeah,
go crazy, go wild.
Come up with like a special package, right? Like 5 months membership or like
5 months membership. Yeah, for like $40 or $45.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Hey, Executive Suite, we're talking to you now, not the devs. This never happens.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
Or like again,
agree.
yeah. So what's this about allowing bonds? Are they not allowing bonds to gain membership for these?
I think they allow bonds, but I think, because it's a separate economy, and this has not been confirmed. So, but I think one of the things, one of the things is, how are you going to get bonds from your main into this game if the economy is fresh? Like maybe bonds are going to be merged, but
I think it's going to be you have to buy bonds in this mode. I think you have to be able to afford them. I think bonds are going to be much cheaper, but we're going to have to see how much.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, they're not going to be 50 mil. That's for darn sure.
And I think, especially if you want to get some of the more, and this isn't me speculating, so apologies for that, but I think a lot of the higher tier players will be using bonds to pay for their membership, right? Because they can just, do a bit of PVM and
again,
get that.
Jagex makes more money when people pay for membership with bonds than when people pay for membership with membership. So, I like it. Good job, Jagex. Yeah. That's an excellent economic model.
No, but exactly. But those people are not going to be able to take their main game money, trade in some bonds, and get into this game mode. And that, I think,
that's
would
the
lower
problem.
the bar.
That's the gray area.
That's I'm a jump shark and go one step ahead on our board here for this, because I think you're wrong about that. Actually, I think we're going to have the same problem that we see in Darkscape. And between RS3 and OSRS, where I think there's going to be sketchy websites who are trying to farm gold, who are having uneven exchange rates between the two platforms. I think there's going to be there's going to be bots on this who are making money from, they'll find some source of cheap salvage or alcohol or whatever, and just train bots to do that. And they'll sell the money on here, and it'll be, like a 20 to 1 or whatever for the main game money. And going the other way, it'll be like 1 to 15, right? I think I don't see anything in place to prevent that other than Jagex noticing those trades.
I never even thought about that.
Why not preempt that? Why not preempt that and allow people to pay with bonds from the main game in the first place, right? Because if there's going to be
because there's no good way to trade them across, right? Like that's the issue.
And
that's why we needed these accounts.
That's why I'm asking for Jagex to get a technical solution for that in place. Because otherwise you're going to get shady alternatives, right? Legal.
I think you're going to get the shady things either way. I think people are,
But the introduction of bonds has really reduced the amount of shady stuff happening, right?
Oh, it has. But at the same time, that also sullies the theoretically pure economy. If you're you have to make those main game bonds have to be a separate you've got to do a whole 9 yards.
I'm not saying you can trade bonds in the main game for a bond in this new world, right? I'm saying you can trade a bond in the main game for membership in this new world.
Oh,
right?
you like gifting membership straight up from a bond you have. Interesting. You know what? That wouldn't be a terrible thing to have anyways, because that's the
It wouldn't be.
Wouldn't be a terrible feature for them to have anyways. Yo, Executive Suite, we're talking to you again here. This is your job.
So you press the button, you press the button on the bond, and then you enter in a RuneScape name.
Yeah, it's got a gifting. It's got a gifting thing, and you say, give it to this person.
You could do that with the linked account stuff, right? Because you would have account. You could have account items. You could put it on whichever character you wanted.
Well, again, as long as you can't trade bonds between
that was never my suggestion. That was never my suggestion. It was
no. I get it. But I get what you're both saying, and I like it. Anyways, GP swapping prevention I think is something that they should put in, because I think it will be a problem if it's not addressed.
Yeah, of course it will. That's been traditional RS since the beginning.
About it.
Yeah.
Good call. Good catch.
And I mean, you have to ask what's going to happen with the competitive side of that, because, and this is another thing that has been popping up, is do you separate the race aspect from the fast leveling side of this, because for people who want to race, what does this mean? What does the potential GP swapping mean for them if you can have a bunch of people surrounding them, effectively feeding the GP to them?
If you're making separate high scores, yeah, straight up. Honestly, I would not be mad if they just said, "Hey, we've made a separate economy. There's going to be 2 separate high scores for this economy. One of those high scores is going to be boosted XP. The other one is going to give you on the reward track, and say, hey, you earn halos from this other one." And like, I get it. The people on the reward track want to have fun too. Not, like, I can't be mad about that. I'm going to counter my own here. I can't be mad about that. But like, it feels like they're doing a lot of things at once. And it's muddying the waters of like, there's no shot a new player is doing this. This is definitely just like, oh, hey, also returning players, here's 2,800 rare items. Have fun. Go.
Yeah, no, I feel like Iron Man mode, maybe there should have been an opt-in for, the high scores, and that would leave you out of all the bonuses. And then sure, at any point, you can switch to getting your XP boosts, but we're going to take you out of the high scores if you do that.
They said they would potentially look into being able to make Iron Man on this mode, and that might be kind of fun too. I mean, it does separate things from the economy in a way, but like, it does kind of suck that, I mean, again, if your ideal audience is returning players, it's not great, but it would be nice if like you've got an Iron Man main from old school who wants to play an Iron Man on RS3. Like, I get that that's probably a niche audience, but like, somebody might want to make an Iron Man on this mode. I get it.
We're all going to be Iron Men to begin with.
I mean, yeah.
There's not going to be anything in there. But I think Serion's solution
all of my ore.
Good.
All of my ore is going straight in the GE for that one dick who wants to get 99 smithing. It's all going to him. I'm making the money.
Yeah. But I think Serion has a good point where you could just opt out of the high scores and then have your bonuses. It wouldn't be that different than what we have now with opting out of this altogether and switching to the main game, right? Like, we can already do that. So I think that would improve the competitive side of this.
And this comes to the point where Serion was very, I don't know if I want to say this, but you could be very prophetic on this, that smushing all these together might not provide for the best outcome at the end of the day. So
no, that's the way I feel about this. Yeah,
that's my primary concern too, I think.
All right,
it was on my list. We are in agreement.
All right, so we're gonna move on right now and talk about how we all feel about Strange New Worlds. I mean, Fresh Start Worlds. I keep doing that.
I love Strange New Worlds, but that's a different podcast.
I hear good things, Shane. I hear good things. I've got some friends that are really into that whole scene.
Let's start with you, Tanis. How do you feel?
So at first, I didn't feel too good, and I'm a little bit on the fence. And what I mean is, I do want to play it. I wanna go for some gathering capes. Definitely interested in that. But the things that I think could have been improved, the main things for me was this integration question with the main game. I wish it was separate. The scope, just like what Serion is saying, I wish it was narrower, or these threads could be pulled apart as different seasonal modes themselves. And finally, my other concern was the price, and I think we kind of came up with a solution for that with having the discounted package. So all that being said, if we could see some changes going forward, I know this is not supposed to be leagues. I think leagues would be something I would like it to get closer to, because I think that is what goes back to what I'm talking about with retention.
People would play a separate profile account that had a leagues theme. They would do it. I mean, you should have dropped heck, you even drop the leagues 2 from old school. You drop that league into RS3, you'll get old school players coming to play it because they loved that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
And most importantly, right now, we gotta stop the bleeding. We probably have enough people that we're gonna be okay, especially with MTX. Love it or hate it, we're okay, but you gotta keep them. You gotta keep them, and to me, that's the thing. And I think something closer to leagues would be better. But this is something that I'm curious about and that I am going to participate and interact with.
It's a little bit of leagues, a little bit of competition, a little bit of recruitment. They're just. I mean, leagues would be an excellent recruitment strategy. They're just saying, "Hey, here's mini leagues, and also you get to be a main game character." It's doing a lot.
It's and you know, I get what you're saying, Tannis, with like the retention and we need to get more players, but I almost feel that, you know, just saying, oh, let's just retain the current players, and even this lapse stuff, right? Like, oh, let's just keep the lapse players. I don't want to say it, but it feels like they're giving up on getting any new players, right? And at that point, it almost sounds like they're just stretching.
Yeah, and this is a question that's been bouncing around in my head as a result of all of this. Let's just set the table here for a minute, okay? We had archaeology launch as a skill launch. Yeah, I'm setting a table.
I'll get the napkins.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll get the napkins.
We had archaeology launch start of the pandemic. We had Elder God Wars last year. We have Mod Keeper in this year with the approach of listening to the dev team.
It was a prophecy. Keeper. Retention.
Bum, bum, bum.
Mod Keeper with listening to the player base and getting back to a more grounded style of RS update. And then this is what you do after archaeology, after Elder God Wars, as a test to see, or as an experiment to see if you can, in effect, bring new players in with that.
Yeah.
And
I think
it's 1, 2, 3. There's 3 different ways that they have done this. One of them was very successful. Number 2 with Elder God Wars was very popular for people who were mid to high leveled and got lots of people into the PVM scene, myself included. And then the question is, where does this one land? Is it closer to archaeology that brings people back? Or is it more like Elder God Wars that ropes existing people in?
But like this is not but still we're only targeting lapsed players, returned players, existing players.
Yeah.
We're not targeting new players.
Right.
And you can't just
You're getting too good at this. You're getting too good at this, Sirion.
Sirion,
you read my mind of where I was going next. Because
I'm sorry.
Because the question that comes from this is, what's the identity of RS3?
It's a 20-year-old
I don't know. Like,
game.
that to me sounds
to
me sounds very philosophical, right? Like we have 320 million accounts, right? Okay, 160 million of those are bots. Let's be honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another 80 million of them are probably lost forever. Like that's half of them, right? That leaves 18 million players left. You know, like that's out of the 7 billion people of the world, those 80 million is something you're gonna try and keep forever. That's it. That's all. It's such a small audience,
right? And that's a question.
Like, why?
That's a question of RS3 identity.
Well, but isn't okay. So here's my only thing with that. One, I just don't believe in this view of endless growth for any business. I don't think it's feasible. I fundamentally kind of disagree with that model of growth every year, end over end. That being said, if we were going to see new players, you would have seen it with mobile, and we did. And that's where I fall on that. That's why I say there aren't new players out there, because if we were going to get them, we would have gotten them with mobile.
I mean, that is very fatalistic, right?
So
I think that is a very fatalistic view.
Sirion. Let me put a point in for this. The other thing that you have to consider is what portion of the English-speaking, and let's be honest, this game is designed and only designed for English-speaking people.
I take offense with that because I'm not English-speaking, but
fight me. The game is presented in English, and yes, there are Portuguese and German and French versions, right? But the overwhelming majority of the player base is English speaking, and the game and the jokes and everything is designed with English speaking in mind. How many of you guys, like, when you think about Friends, when you think about like internet memes, how many people don't recognize RuneScape? How many people are not lapsed players? Because our entire generation, it feels like, at least mine, everyone played at least a little bit. Like, lapsed players is there's a lot of years of lapsed players who are now getting, disposable incomes and looking for games and like who could come back and say, hey, I forgot about this game. Let's see, like the number of lapsed players of the people, you're not reaching out of 7 billion people here. You're just not. Right? You're looking at the people that are speaking English, and most of the people that are speaking English that are of an age where they would be like, are a lot of our age kind of people that are potentially interested in trying RuneScape. Like, they have played the game. They know the game. They've seen the characters in memes, in online videos. They know the sound effects. Sea Shanty 2 is a legend, right? Like, all of this stuff is like stuck in your brain, and, in a way, old school capitalizes on those people much more than RS3 does, and that is the way that will go.
By the way, I just want to say how much of a legend RS is. The night before the Ukraine war started, there was somebody in the public square in Kyiv playing Sea Shanty.
Well, right. There you go. You make a very good point, but then you get to the point, right, where like if you're targeting those players, they're now all young adults, and that also means less time. And yes, you're right, disposable income and all that stuff. But
it's also people that are like mid-20s settling down, right? Like you're getting people that are starting to like moving away from school and home and business, and they're actually like settling into having some free time again. Right?
That's when I started.
Need something that they can play solo late at night that's low key after their kids go to bed, right? Like
I wish. No, but sure, I get it, and it might be right. I'm not terribly certain about that, but maybe I'm projecting too much.
I'm not either.
My own situation, but I feel that if you wanted to make RuneScape that game that remains like this long-term game that remains sustainable for a much longer period of time, you need to attract a new, younger audience. And
maybe
you're not doing
either way
with this game mode.
You're exactly right.
That's not the target of the game mode. We've gone way too far down this rabbit hole.
I know. And I want to pivot this into what you think, Sirion, because you have some interesting points about how you feel about it.
Well, I want to just finish this.
Of course.
The game mode of this is, it's focused against the target audience. That is not the target audience that we think the game needs, or at least I think the game needs for long-term health. So it almost seems like, what's the word here? Just patching things up, like band-aiding it until a better solution comes along, and that, it makes me sad that it makes me feel that way. And I'm not saying it is, but yeah. You're
entirely right on that. All right. I know you have a slate, Sirion, so go for it.
Slate?
Yeah, slate.
A list of points to go through regarding how you feel about fresh start worlds.
Right. Oh yes, that's where we were in the episode. I'm so good at I am so good at tangents. Wild and savage for sure. I honestly I don't know how I feel, right? Like I feel it's so hard, and part of that I think is rooted in the fear of missing out. Like I would really like these skill capes, let's be honest, but I just don't have the time, and that makes this game mode not for me, probably. And that makes me a little bit sad, but it is what it is. That being said, I see some really good things, and I wish people would see more of these good things themselves. For example, we're going to get all these players play low and mid-level content again. Content that has probably not been touched for a very, very long time. I am looking forward to the upcoming Ninja Strikes. Because in the past, whenever we have seen, new influxes of people, playing content that has been left alone for a long time, we see ninja updates about a month later to that content, right? Like that's kind of how that goes. So I'm hoping for some of that. Also, RuneScape is just a big time investment for all of us. And if I wasn't playing right now and I didn't have a high level account right now, I would probably not be playing. And if I saw that I needed dozens of hours to even get to this high-level PVM that everybody's talking about, then it's not worth the investment. So this is going to put people back into the game. They're going to be able to join our level, and yes, they need to work less hard for it, but at least they're going to be high level, and they can, come along with us to raids and, Virago and all those good bosses.
Oh, that's a fun topic.
That we might.
Someone brought up raids. Somebody calm down, Shane.
No, but like what I'm saying is that sure, you can talk about, they're going to skip a game, but also they're going to be high level at the end of it and be able to play along with us because they are high level and we have a bigger player base to play a multiplayer game with.
Let's
That's
go.
good for us.
And they're going to be
Right?
buying these weapons out of the economy. The economy's going to go up. Everything's going to get more expensive, and apparently that's what people want.
But
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it'll be great.
that's sort of the way I'm looking at it, right? Like, let's see this as an
for sure.
opportunity for new friends to come into the game and new people to discover.
One of us.
And
We were lucky enough to 10 years ago discover this game and all the fun quests and jokes, and a lot of people won't anymore because let's be honest, all our attention spans are shit these days.
I read through them. I loved them. I mean, a second time through.
And I mean, you're weird.
Damn, bro. All right. Call him like you see him. No, but like
a lot of players will not give a game that big of a chance because it takes dozens of hours, and this might be an opportunity for them to discover the game we love, and I think we should give them that chance, and I think that is a positive thing.
That's the
that we should
best view of this
celebrate.
update. That's the best view. Is like,
Yeah,
we can bring people in, and we, as the community, can show people that this is a cool place. You have a place here.
Hey,
we can help you with it.
No,
I
have a friend.
There's going to be so many true, so many true noobs in this game mode compared to the regular game, at least. That charity and being kind and teaching is going to go a long way, and I am all down to do all of those things to random people who are going to think it's 2007 and start asking me what my woodcutting level is in public chat. I'm so here for it. That's the best. That's the best world for this, and I think it's doable. I truly do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's sort of,
optimism.
See this as a way to share that which you love so much and which you are yelling so hard about on Reddit because you're protecting it. No,
Right.
You need to go in there and make
Grow
more
it.
people love
Right.
this. And if you are not there, if you are only yelling about this, I think you're a bit of a hypocrite, right? To all those people.
You just summed up my entire thought about how the community and extended elements of it are seeing
I want
it.
those capes, right? I'm gonna have a fear of missing out, but I'll live, and there will be people in there throwing money at it, and they will be subsidizing me. So you win some, you lose some. That's the way I look at it.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
All right. As for me, I honestly, when I first heard of this, was thinking, what? Why? And then it was that initial idea of realizing that this is that fresh start, that ability to do things like farming again without, just getting a huge influx of GP and go buy this many magic seeds, this many yew seeds, this many maple seeds, and all the fruit.
Yeah, the first 27 levels of Hunters suck, and they're going to be so fast. Bruh.
Yeah. It's that entire fresh start idea behind it, combined with the potential to look at the game in a different way that I probably haven't looked at since 2004, 2005. That has me on board with this. That's how I'm on board with this. And at the end of the day, it comes to what Sirion said about being able to find people who are the new people and bring those people along for the ride. And maybe, just maybe, we grow the RS player base, grow the community surrounding RS, and people will have a different perception of what RS3 is, people who might have been unfamiliar with it before, and then that gives Jagex license to work on those big ticket updates that we have told them so many times that we want. We want more things like archaeology. We want more things like the mining and smithing rework. We want more things like a woodcutting rework, other skill reworks, other big ticket content that has been deemed as being too expensive to do because there isn't that bulk of the player base who can take advantage of it early on. And maybe this is the kick in the pants to get some of those updates going and find a way to onboard people who might be interested in the game in a different way that's been done with that. And if one thing could come from this, it's that Jagex's onboarding process for new players and returning players completely changes.
Again.
Woohoo! Tutorials round 12.
Yeah, that's true. That's my big hope from this. So
yeah, I mean, the prompt for this question for all of our listeners was how Update feels about Fresh Start Worlds. Taxi likes Fresh Start Worlds. Taxi's going to make a lot of money. Taxi wants a pretty quest cape. Taxi also needs something that's very AFKable and idle clickery, and all of my main grinds are not that right now. So, but also pretty quest cape. That's yeah. Honestly, like, I love leagues, and I like playing league-like game modes. And yes, this is decidedly Leagues light, and they have made changes to it with that in mind, and I'm okay with it. Fully okay with this. I truly do plan to max and get a quest cape on this game mode if I have the time to do so, and I think I will, especially if it's 5 months. The heck am I going to be doing with my life? So I think other people that are interested in leagues, like heck, even old school players, right, that want that like really fast XP, some like funky buffs, like might come and give it a go, and that's cool to me too. So like, I think there's a lot of player base that is old school player base that is not tapped for RS3 that might like it if they gave it a try.
Yeah, and we need to
there's
actually
also a lot that wouldn't, but
we need to actually have a question or have a discussion about combat at some point, because Sirion had points about combat in last week's discussion on Daughter of Chaos.
Sure.
And Sirion's points about combat, and people who typically aren't RS combat players and even PVMers resonated with that. So we're after Fresh Start Worlds, I have a feeling we're going to have to question a lot of things that we've just accepted for the last 10 years.
And I don't even know about after. I think anytime we get quiet weeks during Fresh Start Worlds, or even, I think it's still going to be a good idea to we'll do check-ins. We'll say, hey, how's Fresh Start Worlds rolling right now? What's the news on the other side? That's part of our updates for the week. Yeah. I think we're gonna, for all of our listeners, I think we'll keep a pulse on it, finger on the pulse, so to speak. We'll put that one up with setting the table as opposed to setting the scene. This the whole 9 yards. I'm optimistic. I think it will be fun to play. I am having a blast theory crafting various ways to even do things that I'm not in all interested in doing, like rushing for those high scores. Like, I just think it's a cool thing to consider in a new economy. What changes and what does that look like? And the opportunity to experience that is something that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, so, it's like asking the question, would you go to Mars if you were given the chance, right?
I think that there's some issues with what they did and how they put it together, but does it still look like a blast? Oh, heck yeah. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, and of course we'll cover all of this, and I think we've been relatively fair in the coverage, covering the community side, how people liked, what they don't like, and what we think of this. So we wanted to give you guys the traditional RSBANDB update experience on this, because God knows this week that there's been so much of an echo chamber in various communities and such that the podcast listeners really want the RSBANDB update takes on this. So hopefully we provided that to you guys in the way that you guys have come to love. So
a little bit entertaining.
Yeah.
Are you not entertained?
Oh, I'm entertained.
Oh, boy.
All right. I'm just going to run through like 5 patch notes from this week, because those are the ones that stood out. Then I got a little surprise for everybody. So, Starting off, Wilderness ambushes now drop loot and count for Slayer tasks. They previously did not, which was a little bit disconcerting when I first killed that Onyx Dragon, and then it disappeared, dropped nothing, and its friends disappeared, so that's good. AoE single-way abilities now work in the Wilderness. AoE abilities now work in single-way combat zones in the Wilderness. They didn't previously.
Yes.
Which could
the Gricko effects,
which could be a big problem if you're doing Slayer. Fixed an issue with the Vestments of Havoc where the 15% adren gain over 18 seconds was being applied even if ultimate abilities were triggered while on cooldown.
Cool. Bug fix, great.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Free cam mode can now be used while resting to capture those Dragonkin hot tub captures, which we all love.
Exhausted Rest is a good one too.
Yeah, Exhausted Rest is a good one. I like that one.
Just dead.
And portable Fletchers can now be used to bundle bamboo and golden bamboo. I always bundle mine at the Ark. I don't know.
I wonder if you can get any benefit from that. I wonder if there's if the Fletcher will give you more. I forget what the actual Fletcher buffs are. I should know, but it's a scale. I know that it's more ammo because I made a lot of ammo with them. But
yeah, and then you also have to run back to the boat to bank if you're doing that or use porters. So I always just bundle mine right at the bamboo tree.
Yeah, same.
So.
Mm-hmm. Well, or you. Oh well. Yeah, that's fair.
All right. But that's patch notes for the week, and this is something that we wanted to try last week, but you guys didn't hear it because it went off absolutely horribly when I did this off the cuff last week. So
you had good points. They just needed some organization.
Yeah, they just needed a little bit of refinement, and what I'm talking about is we're back this week with a micro lesson.
Would you say it's all about the messaging?
It was all about the messaging. It was. We're back with a micro lesson on Abyssal runecrafting, since that's quite a moneymaker. So we'll just throw that into the podcast right now. In this micro lesson, you'll learn about runecrafting for profit in RuneScape. A micro lesson is a short and to-the-point guide that teaches you a single concept about RuneScape. Just recently, the Abyssal runecrafting method was updated so that PvP is no longer required. This has huge ramifications for the skill. We'll start by discussing the fastest ways that you can travel to the various runecrafting altars. It goes without saying that the Wicked Hood teleports are going to be the fastest, but the Abyss also gives us Magical Thread, which increases our profit. To start, you'll want a good runecrafting preset. We'll build this out over the next couple minutes. You'll want your Wilderness Sword, as this gives you a free teleport back to Edgeville. Also, consider an offhand like the Enhanced Excalibur with the mobile perk to have the cooldown of movement abilities like Surge or Bladed Dive, since mobile now impacts these abilities in the Wilderness if PvP is disabled. Another option is to just use the Shadow's Grace relic power unlocked at 67 Archaeology. On the note of relics, at level 68 Archaeology, the Nexus mod relic power is unlocked, which brings you to the center of the Abyss, negating the need to run past monsters and do the skilling obstacle. It's also worth noting that the Wilderness Sword 3 rewards a chance to do this, but it's not guaranteed. It's going to take some time to master, but with movement abilities and the mobile perk, getting to the Abyss is pretty quick. Now this brings us to increasing the amount of essence that can be carried. You're given the small pouch for free, and others can be found by killing creatures in the Abyss or buying them for GP at the Runecrafting Guild after level 50 runecrafting. The massive pouch is bought with RuneSpan points. In total, pouches provide 48 extra essence carrying capacity. Runecrafting pouches typically need to be repaired, but with level 36 Archaeology, you will gain access to the Pouch Protector relic power, which entirely prevents pouches from degrading. There is also the Rune Ethereal outfit, which allows us to carry an additional 6 essence, while players who have upgraded to the Infinity Ethereal outfit will be able to carry 12. The Abyssal Familiars also provide us extra essence carrying capacity of 7, 12, or 20, based on what level of Familiar is used. Factoring in our inventory, familiar, and outfit, that means we're crafting with 102 essence per run. You can keybind your pouches and your ethereal top while equipped to reload them faster. Using one of your first 2 bank preset slots also allows you to load the preset with a keybind, enabling you to reload your preset multiple times very rapidly to withdraw extra essence to refill your pouches. Alongside typical keybinds, you can also keybind the ability to withdraw essence from your familiar. Then, you can load a bank preset, fill pouches in your outfit with essence from your inventory, take the essence from your familiar, finish loading the pouches and outfit, repeat the previous 2 steps, and reload the bank preset again, all without clicking your bank. This isn't required, and the keystrokes required can get a bit complicated, but it's a massive efficiency bump. In doing this, you can reload your entire 80 essence in under 5 seconds. Now we'll talk about ways to increase the number of runes that you make from the essence you bring to the altar. Each rune has a series of levels at which its multiplier increases. You can see the chart now on screen and linked in the description below. What isn't immediately clear is that your multiplier actually scales continuously between those levels as your runecrafting level increases. As such, an extreme runecrafting potion is very helpful, since it gives us a boost to our chance of receiving extra runes, or allows us to hit the next multiplier and beyond. Typically for water runes, the 6x multiplier will unlock at level 95, but with an extreme runecrafting potion, a player at level 97 will be able to hit the 7 times water multiplier. While we can't reach the 2 times multiplier for blood runes, the extreme runecrafting potion will let us have a chance at receiving more runes overall. Other ways to increase runes made include the Explorer's Ring 2 or higher from the Lumbridge Easy Task set, which gives a 10% chance to produce an additional rune per essence used for any elemental rune. The Hero's Welcome quest offers the ability to produce 5% more runes while runecrafting, and if you're crafting elemental runes, the Arcane Apaterasaur perk from the Ranch Out of Time increases your rune multiplier for elemental runes by up to +2. Finally, and perhaps the biggest boost, is the Power Burst of Sorcery. This can be used every 2 minutes to double our rune multiplier. This allows for the insanity of crafting water runes with an 18 times multiplier, which means for somebody crafting water runes, you're looking at least 714 water runes per run using the setup above. Now comes the discussion on profit. Of course, profit is determined by how fast you are. It is reasonable to expect somewhere between 60 and 90 runs an hour, with runs taking 60 seconds or so on the long end, and moving closer down to the 30 to 40 second mark if you're really fast. As of August 2022, someone on the slower end can expect upwards of 11 mil profit from water runes or 14 mil profit from blood runes. These prices do not include any magical thread that you might get, which can massively increase your profit, and of course these prices are entirely subject to change. As always, these microlessons are intentionally brief, and as a caveat we will say again that so much of the effectiveness of this depends on your runecrafting level and speed. So with that, have the recent changes to the wilderness changed your opinion on abyssal runecrafting? Let us know in the comments below. Also, let us know if you think that we've missed anything. If you like this video or you want to see more microlessons, like and subscribe.
Whoa, that was such a cool microlesson, Shane. That's awesome. Yeah, some really good points. You could make some really good money off of that. It's not quite as crazy as it used to be, especially since the threads dropped so much, but man, check that out, folks.
With that being said, you can find the full microlesson at youtube.com/RSBANDB. And if you want more microlessons, maybe some on Fresh Start Worlds, like and subscribe. Thanks, everyone. Alrighty. That was a whirlwind. Tanis, you have a pick of the week for us, I believe, as we start to wrap this up.
I do. So as you can imagine, not a lot going on in a hospital, so I played a lot of RS Mobile, and I listened to a new book. I'm a pretty big fan of the Nate Temple series, which is kind of fantasy wizard-ish type of stuff. And this is the newest book in that series, and it's called Savage. So it's really fun. It brings in elements of, well, if it is in fantasy, it is in the Nate Temple series. And this is, it's, I want to say it's like book 13, 14, I don't know. It might be 15.
It says 15.
15, okay, yeah. But it's been a lot of fun. I'm really close to the end, and I just really enjoy it. So, like, if you like, the Nate Temple series, or you're a fan of the Dresden Files, stuff like that, you will enjoy this. And this is not the last book, but it's the newest book in the series, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So that is Savage by the Nate Temple series by Shane Silvers.
All right, sounds good. We've had a couple of book picks of the week while you've been gone, actually. So it's interesting we're continuing on that push. Yeah. I think.
Read, children. It's good. It's good for your English, and it means you can understand the jokes in RuneScape.
I think both.
Plus, every RuneScape content creator has some deal on Audible. Go get your free audiobooks,
kids. All right, and of course, along with this, it is double XP. So we have a boatload of double XP. Oh, there goes the voice.
Boatload. Jailing confirmed.
Oh boy, that would be something, wouldn't it?
Surprise.
Starting off, we have Delter Polo, who got 120 Herblore on August 17th. Lazy Colonel got 120 Invention. Skips got 99 Construction and Hunter. The Outdoors got 120 Farming. Moving on to the 16th now, we have 82nd Airborne with 120 Summoning. Drizzen with 200 million Defense. Patapolo with 120 Herblore. Robbie with 200 million Cooking and Constitution. Ultradog 177 with 120 Herblore, Woody 1 with 120 Construction, Zabras with 99 Hunter, and Exploited 1 with 120 Invention.
Moving right along, starting on the 15th, we have Bartnels with 99 Fletching, Borosoro with 120 Fletching, Fire If Afrit with 120 Construction, Lazy Colonel with 120 Herblore, Mahin with 99 Thieving, Taudio 22 with 99 Construction, and Zabros with 99 Fishing. Starting the 14th, we have Atmahua with 99 Fishing and Woodcutting, Bartnels with 99 Construction, Donna with 99 Hunter, and Dragoncore with 99 Firemaking.
Nice.
All right. And then continuing on the 14th, we have Ekrin with 99 Thieving, Divination, and Smithing. We have Moose with 99 Divination, Mr. M with 99 Runecrafting, and then going to the 13th, we have Battle Slash with 99 Strength and Attack. We have Data 479 with 120 Herblore and 120 Dungeoneering. We have Donna with 99 Defense and Kinky Sliske with 120 Invention, and Quest Kitty with 99 Hunter.
Right on.
All right, a few more on August 13th with the Outdoors getting 120 Dungeoneering, Tim 2 getting 120 Smithing, and Taudio 22 getting 99 Fletching and 99 Firemaking. Then closing off on August 12th, we have Atmohua getting 99 Smithing, Baritzi getting 99 Thieving, Darkest Night getting 120 Farming, Dat Engineer getting 120 Slayer, Data 479 gets 120 Farming, Donna 99 Summoning, Moo Dragon X get 120 Invention, and Worst Tasker got 99 Slayer. Well, you got that task done at least, so...
Horrible task.
There you go.
Horrible task, Slayer.
Yeah, that's true.
You really need to get over that.
I couldn't convert him. I just couldn't convert him.
It's a true bummer.
All right, what have we been up to? Let's hear from you first, Tanis. I mean, obviously, you haven't been here for a few weeks.
Yeah. But for double XP, like I said in pre-show, I actually ran out of that yesterday because I don't go back to work till Monday, which I am really excited about. But obviously, I had some time to heal and to work on my double XP. I am proud to say that I worked hard. It ain't much, but it's honest. And I smithed enough Elder Rune plate bodies that I bought myself. I just finished off the full set of Crypt Bloom armor.
Nice.
All of it.
So now you're going to go do Carapac hard mode, right?
Well, I still need a weapon, so I'm halfway to my Nox staff. I looked at the wand and I was like, no. We'll get the staff. That's just fine for me now.
If you want wands, just use the ports wands. They're close
and
enough.
I have those, so
okay.
I'm
the elite ports wands, mind you.
I think that's what I don't know, but I'm gonna go with the staff for now because it's not like I don't really need like a fractured staff or something. I'll be just fine with that. So
that's what you say.
But I thought it was kind of cool. But I thought it was kind of cool that like I've done it from skilling, right? Like It's been a long road, but I got there. And we're almost finished. I didn't put up like, impressive gains, but probably 20 mil so in smithing, just doing what I've been doing normally. And 20 mil smithing doesn't sound like much on double XP, but when you consider that I made about 200 to 300 mil during that time, it's not bad.
That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. And of course, so good to have you back. Sirion?
Really not much. Double XP weekends kind of have the opposite effect on me. They sort of scare me away. I've been logging in, trading my double XP for Nick tokens. Probably be turning that into more Slayer XP or more Herblore XP. I don't know yet. But yeah, I just haven't had the time really to sit down either. So I've been trying to look sideways at Reddit, seeing what people think about these fresh start worlds, and then promptly closed Reddit and haven't opened it up since. So.
Yeah, better to discuss that kind of stuff with friends, in all honesty.
Yeah.
As for me this week, I have been back woodcutting with my double XP. I am 1 mil away from 120 woodcutting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you have the pet, hopefully?
I do not have the woodcutting pet.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
Or maybe I do. I need to check that. I'm not sure if I do, but I don't think I have Woody. So
Ouch.
that's a concern on that front now that you mention it. But aside from that, I am still one piece away from completing the Raids armor set. I'm only missing the melee Acto tank body, so that has been a kick in the pants to make sure that I go at every loot period and hopefully get that final piece of Raids armor. But that woodcutting plus dailies has been my RS existence for the past week and a bit. How about you, Thaxi?
Man, I've been back. So I've been super busy this week. I've flew across the country last night. I'm moving into a new apartment next week. I've got finals next week. I start a new program in the week after, which is again why I'm really looking forward to having something that is an idle clicker to play frequently. But I did do this week is I'm finally working. I finally finished filling all of my skilling stations in Aya with XP, so I used them all. That's my entire DXP, all 8 hours that I've used so far has been just sitting at Aya while I'm working on packing or work or whatever needs to get done.
Did you get it done?
No, so I did finish. I went better than a rate for 3 of the 6 stations, and I'm 2 out of 3 checkpoints done for the other 3. So in theory, at any point, I just need the last 3 1 in 1,000 drops, and that'll be my Master Quest cape back, which I haven't had obviously since this came out. So. Actually, no, I haven't had it since the Scientist in Asylum because I didn't have the book from this darn thing because it took forever to drop. So, it's been a hot second.
Did you get a Salamancy amulet?
No, I didn't. From using, I get, what is that? Well over 2 mil XP out of each station. No
Ouch.
Dice.
Also,
I didn't need it for anything. But.
Yeah. I actually can report that I do have the woodcutting pet. It is Bernie, the fire-making pet, who looks similar that I do not have.
Well, nobody has Bernie because Bernie's the rarest pet in the game, so or the
okay.
rarest skilling pet. So he is the lowest drop rate in terms of time spent per pet drop.
All right, fair enough. But that about does us for this week, folks. If you guys want full show notes, you can find those at update.show. You can also subscribe to the podcast on any podcast listener out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, and more. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/RSBANDB. That's where you can find the nibbles, this week's micro lesson on rune crafting, money making, and more. And, if you like the micro lessons, you like the podcast, definitely do give us a like and subscribe. It helps the channel out. But you can find links to all these platforms and more at update.show/subscribe. And with that being said, we'll be back next week for another episode of RSBANDB Update. Take care, everyone.
See ya.
Ciao.
Bye.